Welcome, 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 everyone, to Fortitude and Free Circle. And with Fortitude and Free, it is exactly in the words itself of fortitude, where you're able to overcome, to be on the other side of adversities, challenges, and difficulties, especially when it comes to your calling. And so, with today, what the focus is on self compassion. The focus is on self compassion. And it's self compassion when it comes to your calling, because we want you to continue to be able to be connected to it, because there's so much that goes on in the world that can pretty much disconnect you, create detours and difficulties. So this is why we meet here, so you can release those things that no longer serves you, that don't belong to you, to rejuvenate your spirit, and also to nurture your nervous system. Because without that, ooh, I tell you. So if you don't already have your journal or notebook, go ahead and grab that. All right. I'm so happy that you were able to grab that notebook. And so go ahead and get in a comfortable position. And that could be on the floor, or you could be lying down, or you could be sitting in a chair with your shoulders back and your eyes gazed towards the floor, towards Mother Earth. And let's take a deep breath from your belly. Inhale, slight pause, completely exhale. Another inhale, slight pause, completely exhale. Another inhale, slight pause, and exhale. And so now, what I'd like for you to do is to, one way to have compassion for ourselves and to be connected to our calling is to identify and embody who you are. And so that means, let's say, for instance, if you identify yourself as being confident, you being courageous, you're being comfortable, in your calling. And it doesn't have to be those words, just whatever words that come up. And for those of you who do not have an identity to your calling, like, what do you embody? Because the more we embody our calling, the more we can have that compassion for ourselves, but also to be able to stand up to challenges. So, for those of you who may not be able to have, if you don't have those three words that um, identify you, that you can identify with, quickly do a brain dump of your calling, like whatever comes to mind, what your how you see yourself. Let me change that. Whatever comes to mind when it comes to your calling of how you see yourself. And it can be things that may not be of strength. It can be the negative self-talk about you where you think that you're not. We're gonna do this quickly. And then for those of you who are listening, then you can pause and I would say take at least 5 minutes to do it. Okay. And so after you do the brain dump, then identify three words or phrases that um, shows up that I'm not going to say that resonates, but that um, shows up for you. That's the strongest. If those three, if any of the three words are anything negative, like a negative self talk, something negative, I want you to flip it. I want you to flip it to something positive. Because when it comes to embody, you embody every word, every thought that you are, every word, every thought that you say, every, every thought that you have, you embody that. And so it's so important to replace it. So with whatever those three words are now, then you're going to say either all of this or one of these. You can choose. You can say, I am again courageous. I am confident. I am clarity, you can be clarity as well. Especially if that's something you feel like that you may be lacking, or or you can say, I declare and decree I am. I declare and decree confidence. I declare and decree courageous. I declare and decree clarity. So you could say, I am, whatever your three words are. You could say, I declare and decree those three words. And, or you could say, I declare and decree, I am those three words. And, and then also too, for even more in depth, you can say, I know for a fact that, whatever those three words, those identifiers, we're going to call them identifiers are. So let's go ahead, take a deep breath. And right now, I just want you just to say the three words without the prefaces. Just say the three words. Now, I want you to say those three words 5 times. And take a deep breath and seal those words into your body. And now, what I want you to do is to continue repeating those words and with that, repeat it with either the I am, the declare and decree, or I declare and decree I am, or I know for a fact I am. And just continue to say those three. Again, I am courageous, I am clarity, I am confident. Um, those don't have to be your words, but whatever your three identifiers are. And when you say it, when you identify yourself, say it with conviction, not just, I am confident, I am courageous, I am clarity. Say, I am confident, I am. And if you're in a space to say them out loud, say them out loud. Now, what I like for you to do, I want you to envision yourself being the identifier, meaning you're not just saying it, you're being courageous. What do you see yourself being courageous about when it comes to your calling? What do you see yourself doing? What do you see yourself saying? What are you hearing yourself saying? Again, this is about identifying with the three identifiers, but you are vividly seeing yourself. You're painting a picture, you're in a scene, you're in the office, you're at the retreat, you're on the stage, you got the contract, and you can feel it. You're receiving the recognition, the rewards. You got that telephone call for the contract that you've been negotiating. You're on a trip to Dubai with your family or a retreat or a training. You're living what you identify yourself with. You're able to donate thousands of dollars to your charity of choice. You're making the impact that you envision yourself to be. You're not just envisioning yourself with the identifiers, you're living the identifiers, you're living, you're being. You're moving as a courageous person. You're moving as a confident person. You're moving and behaving and taking action as a person with clarity. And again, with whatever identifiers that you have identified for yourself. Embody those identifiers. Now, what I want you to do is you are telling your story of what you have accomplished with the identifiers. So, meaning in whatever your calling is and how you present it, like whatever had led you to the calling, now you're talking about the calling itself. So, with the identifiers, for instance, I was in a place where I didn't always show up confidently, but as my calling called me, I began to show up. And now I run retreats, I show up, I facilitate workshops. I have a circle of women who put self care as a priority. They include the Take 5 to Thrive today seriously, and they integrate it throughout the day. So that's an example of you have accomplished, even though it still is per se, but you accomplished those identifiers. It's not that it was a word per se, but it's the accomplishments and the impact that you've had because I was confident and courageous and had clarity that I was able to help thousands of women wake up and be here on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. to discipline themselves to do that, to challenge themselves to do that so they can sustain their resilience. Have a story for each identifier of how you had accomplished. Again, you're telling that story of how you accomplished of being whatever your identifier is. Let's bring your attention back to the surface. And we're going to take a deep breath. Inhale, seal in those three identifiers. Seal them in, say them. And you're releasing the impact all those three identifiers into the world, the impact that they have on others. And so, what I'd like for you to do now is to write down what came up for you. What came up for you, and just identify what your identifiers are going to be. Were you able to easily do it, or did you use the flip it method, the brain dumping? And did you have to flip? Sometimes when some individuals do the brain dump, what resonates with them are there, and others may have to flip a word or two. And then what came up for you when you were just embedding and embodying the identifiers, when you were just saying it over and over and over again? Write down what came up for you. And so now, what I'd like for you to do is to your takeaway when you were envisioning and embodying yourself, pretty much, being your identifier. And now I want you to, your takeaway with the last part that we had, um, pretty much in you telling the story of what you had accomplished with your identifiers, the impact that you actually had. You weren't just envisioning it, you accomplished those things. What was your takeaway from that? And now, what I like for you to do before we end is to, should I say, after this, make a commitment to sit with this, to go back and review and reflect all of your takeaways. And then if there were anything, I would say, that was unsettling, that you didn't quite believe, go back and visit that and go a little deeper within that. And then as we, um, the goal for these rituals are for you to practice these throughout the week. And again, these are things you can add to your self-care toolbox, but you can always have them. And even if, and I'm just gonna leave it there. But anyway, I thank you for investing in yourself. And remember that we're here at Fortitude and Free Rituals are here every Saturday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we can't do this alone. And this is why Fortitude and Rituals are here, y'all, to be able to release what the world, even what the calling puts on us as times, as well as for you to be able to reset and restore and to rejuvenate so you can have the discipline, so you can have the resistance and the discipline to challenge yourself for the things that come for your calling. See you next time.